They tell us we're living in the greatest era in human history, an age of limitless opportunities, freedom like never before progress, racing ahead at breakneck speed. But let me ask you something. If this is the best time to be alive, then why does it still feel so empty? Picture this. You walk into a supermarket, you're immediately greeted by a dazzling wall of cereal boxes, chocolate-drenched, oat-based, keto-friendly, gluten-free, organic, sugar-loaded. At first glance, it feels empowering. So many options, so much freedom. But stop for a second and really think who chose these cereals for you in the first place. You didn't grow the grains. You didn't design the packaging. You didn't even stop to question whether cereal was the right way to start your day. You just walked in and picked from what was already curated for you. And that right there is the modern illusion of freedom. We're told we live in a world of endless possibilities, that we can be anyone, do anything, live however we want. But in reality, the freedom we're sold is like a children's menu, colorful, limited, and pre-approved. Step back and start looking around, really looking, your career options. You're free to choose from roles that the system has already deemed profitable. Want to be a poet? Sure, but can you make a living without monetizing your art? The system whispers, be who you want, but only if it's economically viable. Even your opinions, your thoughts that are shaped within invisible walls. Yes, you're free to speak until your words make people uncomfortable, until they challenge the structure itself. We live inside the Overton window, a narrow range of acceptable ideas painted so beautifully that we don't even notice the cage we're in. We've mistaken variety for freedom. But real freedom isn't having 50 brands of toothpaste. It's having the clarity to ask, why is toothpaste a billion-dollar industry in the first place? It's not about how many flavors you can pick from. It's about having the power to question whether the whole menu makes sense. Consumerism wraps bondage in colorful packaging. You can pick your phone wallpaper, your coffee flavor, your t-shirt slogan, but try stepping outside the unspoken rules of beauty success or productivity and watch how quickly that freedom crumbles. The system smiles as it hands you thousands of variations of the same idea. Conform, but feel like you're choosing. Let's talk about social media. It promises expression, a digital stage, a voice. But that voice is guided, shaped by invisible hands. Algorithms that reward outrage, superficiality, conformity. Say something trendy and it goes viral. Say something real and it vanishes into silence. Even rebellion is marketed now. Want to be a nonconformist? Great, there's a brand for that, a hoodie, a playlist, an aesthetic, a hashtag. We've turned resistance into merchandise. And here's the most dangerous part: the illusion works because it rewards us just enough dopamine, just enough success, just enough applause to keep us from ever asking, wait, is this really freedom? True freedom isn't endless options inside a box. It's recognizing the box. It's stepping outside the mental script and asking, why do I want what I want? Who benefits from this choice? That moment when you start to question, really question, is the moment the spell breaks. Because the greatest control in modern society doesn't come from force. It comes from illusion, from the soothing lie that you're already free. But real freedom that only begins when you stop mistaking the menu for the meal. Now picture this: you wake up, reach for your phone, scroll past a motivational quote. You have the same 24 hours as Elon Musk. Suddenly your heart races. You haven't even brushed your teeth and already you're behind. Emails, tasks, notifications, goals, to-do lists. Welcome to the productivity trap. A world where busyness is a badge of honor and your worth is tied not to who you are, but to how much you produce. We celebrate the hustlers, the grinders, the sleep-deprived. We romanticize burnout. We chase milestones not because they fulfill us, but because we fear what happens if we fall behind. Since childhood, we've been conditioned: gold stars, grades, promotions, likes, shares. We absorbed a dangerous belief: more doing equals more value. And eventually it became our reality. Not because it's true, but because it's been repeated so often we stop questioning it. And here's the twist: the system is designed this way. The more insecure you feel, the harder you hustle. You buy planners, download productivity apps, sign up for courses, all in search of peace that never comes because the bar keeps moving. The treadmill never stops. Even rest has been hijacked. Read a book, better make it educational. Take a walk, track your steps. Do nothing. That's lazy unless you brand it as mindful recovery. We've forgotten how to simply exist, without an agenda, without a metric, just exist. But here's the truth. You are not a machine. You were never meant to operate at peak efficiency 24/7. Nature doesn't bloom all year long. Why should you productivity culture disguise itself as empowerment? But it often reinforces a quiet slavery, one where you willingly chain yourself to performance, where stillness feels like failure, where rest becomes guilt. This isn't just a mindset issue, it's a crisis of identity. We're not addicted to work. We're addicted to being seen as useful, to being validated, to being told we matter only when we're producing. But here's the radical question. Who are you when you're not doing what remains, when the achievements fall away, when the noise stops, when the applause fades? That right there is where real freedom begins. And that's what the rest of this journey is about. Not how to do more, but how to finally fully be. Because until you reclaim your essence from the chains of illusion, you'll never know what freedom truly feels like. So here we are after questioning the illusion of freedom and the trap of productivity. There's something deeper that emerges, the quiet truth that you are already enough. Even when you're doing nothing, even when you're still, even when the world tells you to go, 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 your worth doesn't vanish in stillness. You don't have to earn your rest. You don't need to justify simply existing, because your existence was never meant to be a performance. We live in a world addicted to hustle, a world where action equals validation and silence is mistaken for weakness. But maybe, just maybe, the most revolutionary act in this noise-soaked reality is doing nothing, on purpose. So next time your mind whispers, "You're not doing enough," try answering it softly, not with panic, but with presence. Maybe, just maybe, I'm doing exactly what I need to. Because sometimes freedom isn't a roar, it's a breath. A quiet moment where you realize the world didn't end when you stepped off the treadmill. But here's the real question. Who are you when you're not performing? Try to answer that and watch how quickly the mind grasps for labels. I'm a student. I'm a manager. I'm a mother. I'm ambitious. I'm creative. We speak in roles, traits, and titles like armor we wear to be understood. But where did these identities come from? Did we choose them? Or were they handed to us like uniforms on the first day of school? From the moment we're born, the world begins shaping our sense of self. Our gender is assigned. Our culture is imprinted. Our names repeated until they become synonymous with me. We're rewarded for being good, smart, obedient. And slowly, almost without noticing, we trade pieces of our authentic self for versions that are more acceptable, more applauded. It doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle, gradual, a mask that forms one layer at a time until the original face beneath begins to fade. And here's the hard truth. Identity isn't something we find. It's something we construct. And in today's hyper-curated society, we don't just construct it, we market it. Social media, school systems, advertising, they don't reflect who you are. They tell you who you should be. You scroll past picture-perfect lives and ask yourself silently, should I look like that too? Should I live like that? You buy clothes not just to stay warm, but to say something about yourself. You drink a certain coffee, use a certain phone, follow a certain trend. Each decision layered with identity signaling. We don't just live anymore. We curate, we present, we perform. But what happens when the performance becomes the reality? When the script we've followed for so long becomes the only language we know, most people will never meet their true self. Not because it's hidden too deeply, but because we rarely stop acting long enough to notice. We live entire lifetimes inside costumes designed for acceptance, not truth. Roles crafted for survival, not joy. But every now and then something happens, a moment of solitude, a breakdown, a breath, and the mask slips. Just for a second, and you catch a glimpse, a raw, unfiltered version of you. The one who doesn't need to impress or explain. That's the real you, the one underneath all the noise. The one who existed before the roles, before the expectations, before the masks. This doesn't mean we must reject every identity we've carried. Some serve us, some protect us. But when they become prisons, when they silence our inner questions, it's time to ask, who am I without all this? Try to sit in silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you. Ask, if no one was watching, what would I still love? What would I stop doing? What would remain? Because that's where your truth lives. Not in your job title, not in your Instagram bio, but in the stillness that remains when everything else is stripped away. You were never meant to be a brand. You were meant to be a human. And the most liberating journey you'll ever take, the one no map can guide you through, is the journey back to yourself. We love comfort. We cling to it. The soft bed, the hot shower, the instant food, the same Netflix shows. The world has been engineered to make everything easy, convenient, instant. And why wouldn't we love it? Comfort feels safe, familiar, predictable. But beneath its warmth lies a cold truth: comfort can become a cage. Because comfort isn't neutral. It shapes you, it softens your edges, it dulls your instincts. And when overindulged, it begins to numb the very parts of you that were designed to grow. Think about it. Every innovation is made to reduce friction. Why walk when you can ride? Why cook when you can order? Why talk when you can scroll? But friction is where change lives. It's where muscles grow, where minds stretch, where true identity evolves. The illusion of comfort tells you you're thriving when you're actually just surviving in a padded room. In this room, everything is easy. Everything is smooth, except the things that truly matter. Growth still hurts. Truth still stings. Real connection still takes effort. But when we have been fed dopamine on demand, even the smallest discomfort feels like pain. We lose our tolerance for silence, for challenge, for boredom. And in that loss, we also lose the ability to sit with life, to wrestle with it, to reshape it. Comfort doesn't just protect us from danger. It protects us from awareness. Why reflect when you can binge? Why confront emotion when you can scroll past it? Why leap into the unknown when the known is so delightfully comfortable? And that right there is the real danger. Not that comfort makes us lazy, but that it makes us content with less than we're capable of. You stop dreaming not because you don't want more, but because comfort has convinced you to settle for less. And that's where we'll go next. Into the heart of the resistance. Into the moment where something stirs inside you and says, I want more, but not more noise, not more stuff, more truth. So after peeling back the layers of curated identity and questioning the soft trap of comfort, we arrive here at the brink of something uncomfortable, yet essential. The place where change begins not with intention, but with courage. Because let's be honest, sometimes what you have feels good enough, comfortable enough. And that's precisely when you stop fighting. Not because you've conquered the challenge, but because the couch is soft, the screen is bright, and the world outside your window feels just distant enough to ignore. And that's the dangerous part, because the system knows this. A comfortable population is a manageable one. Keep people fed, entertained, and distracted, and they'll rarely question, rarely resist, rarely wake up. Comfort is a numbing agent, a soft lullaby sung by the world to keep you from noticing that something is slipping away, your presence, your power, your purpose. Let's be clear. Comfort isn't the enemy, but comfort without questioning. That's a slow anesthetic. It lulls you into sleepwalking through your days while life, raw, wild, unpredictable life unfolds just beyond reach. The antidote: discomfort. Not recklessly, but purposefully, deliberately. Do hard things not for the outcome, but for the reminder that you're still alive, that you can still choose, that your spirit hasn't gone numb. Question the convenience, break the loop, step into boredom, sit with silence, because real life doesn't live inside the algorithm. It breathes just beyond the edge of comfort. And maybe, just maybe, the life you're truly meant for is hiding in the place you've spent the most time avoiding. At some point in the midst of the noise, the screens, the tasks, the roles, you feel it. Not a scream, not a breakdown, just an emptiness. Subtle. Like walking into a room where music once played, but now all you hear is echo. It creeps in when you're alone in your car, when the movie ends, when you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling. When the distractions finally fade, the whisper comes, is this really me? Because somewhere along the way you forgot. You forgot who you were before the world told you who to be, before the titles, before the chase, before success became urgent and authenticity became optional. That's the quiet tragedy of modern life. We've become experts in price yet novices in value. We can name celebrities, stocks, and trends, but struggle to name our own needs. In a hyper-connected world, we're more disconnected from ourselves than ever. Why? Because we've abandoned the self, the real self, the one who once stared at clouds, who got lost in wonder, who asked questions just for the joy of asking. That version of you existed before likes and followers, before applause, before performance. The cruelest part, we didn't even notice when it slipped away. Modern life doesn't demand that you forget yourself. It just keeps you too busy to remember. From the moment you open your eyes, you're plugged in. Your calendar tells you who to be. Your phone tells you what matters. And society applauds the version of you that's most useful to it, not the version that's most you. But here's the truth. No one profits from telling you you are not your productivity. You are not your curated profile. You are not your opinions, your schedule, or your followers. You are something far more vast, a living, breathing consciousness, a soul with dreams that weren't sold to you, with feelings that don't need to be filtered, and the way back. It's not through another accomplishment, it's through attention. If this message resonates with something deep inside you, consider this not just a video, but a mirror, a moment, a whisper back to yourself. Because reconnecting with who you really are doesn't require a full life reset. It begins in the smallest, most defiant moments. Moments when you sit in silence instead of reaching for your phone. Moments when you write not to post, not to impress, but simply to listen to your thoughts again. Moments when you say no, not because it's strategic, but because it's honest. And maybe most powerful of all, moments when you do nothing and still know you are worthy. Because the real self doesn't shout, it whispers. And to hear it, you must turn down the volume of the world. When you do something incredible begins to unfold. You remember what you love, not because it's trending, but because it ignites something sacred inside you. You remember what you fear, not because it's taboo, but because it points to truth. You remember what matters not for status, but for soul. You begin asking deeper questions. Not, what should I do next, but who do I want to be when no one's watching? And in asking, you begin to reclaim your humanity. You begin to feel alive, not just functional, not just productive, alive. Slowly the illusion fades. The performance-based worth, the productivity trap, the curated identity, all of it begins to dissolve. You don't just wake up from sleep, you wake up from a life you never truly chose. And in that awakening, you become dangerous. Dangerous to systems that depend on your distraction. Dangerous to narratives that depend on your obedience. Because a person who knows themselves cannot be controlled. They don't chase, they choose. This was the deception of modern society. But now you see it, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. Welcome back to yourself. We've missed you.